Oh, the Sony a7S Mark III. It's here, finally, yes! This is a camera I didn't think would ever come out. The a7S Mark II came out in 2015. In 2018, the a7 III came out. The a7S was like, all right, like, when's it coming? When's it coming? 2019, all right, this is the year. Nope. And then 2020 came, and then Sony missed the boat, and no one cared anymore. And it's like, all right, it's not gonna exist. It's never gonna happen. But it came, and it happened, and it's here, and it's beautiful. Now we know this camera was announced in like July, and yeah, there's like 1,000 videos already about the Sony a7S, and yeah, a lot of those people have the camera and have shot like super dope like test footage, and no, I don't have the camera, but I want to make this video because I care, because I care, and I want to give back to the community because I'm a good person and you need me. It's good for you. I'm a doctor, and here's your dose of TAL. Sony a7S Mark III. What's new about it? What's cool about it? What do we want to know? Great questions. Great questions. Well, it's a camera that shoots video, 4K video at 120 frames a second to be exact. 4K 120 is pretty baller. It is. It's like one of those like specs that you sort of like fantasize about that you know isn't possible, but you just like to imagine like one day. So good time to be alive. Not gonna lie, it's a good time to be alive. Yeah, it's a good time. Yeah. It is worth noting it doesn't shoot in true DCI 4K, it shoots Ultra HD. I don't know if that's necessarily a deal breaker for anyone, but it's worth pointing out. It's worth pointing out. 1080 at 240, great. It also shoots 10-bit video 422, which from my understanding is the first time Sony has a camera that shoots 10-bit. I'm pretty sure all their cameras until now have been capped at 8-bit 420. If I'm wrong, let me know in the comments. I really don't feel like Googling it, but I'm pretty sure that's what it is. So, Sony, welcome to 2020. You made it. We've got Panasonic and we've got Canon. Oh, and look, we even have Fuji. Wow, Sony, way to play catch up. It has S-Log 2 and S-Log 3 and boasts 15 stops at dynamic range. Oh mama, hello baby. It has an improved menu system, which I appreciate because that's one of my big qualms with Sony. Their menus are kind of poopy. With their A7 series, with their Sony FS7 series, with F5s, it's always convoluted, it's always complicated, nothing's where you want it. So an improved menu system, good stuff. This camera also has a fully articulated rear screen, which I believe is also a first. Sony, they usually kind of have those like kind of tilt-up screens. So this is nice. This is kind of like a nice refreshing change. 5-axis and body stabilization. Gorgeous. That's what we want. That's what we need. It's a beautiful thing. It has autofocus. Sony has had pretty good autofocus for a while now. It should be even improved even more with this camera. So that's good. This camera also has a full-size HDMI, which is kind of nice because the body's pretty small. It's a small mirrorless body. Having a full-size HDMI is one of those little things. It's nice. It also has a USB-C and USB micro, so good I/O options. One thing I find interesting about this camera, it has dual twin format card slots. Twin format card slots, meaning these card slots can accept two types of cards, SD cards and CF Express Type A cards, which, to be honest, I don't think I've seen before. I don't know if there's other cameras to do that. It's the first time I've seen it. So I think that's kind of dope. When would you need CF Express Type A cards? From, I believe you only really need it when you're shooting in slow-mo at 10-bit 422. So you won't need it most of the time. As of now, we can also shoot RAW, ProRes RAW with an Atomos Ninja 5. Awesome stuff. ProRes RAW is great. My camera shoots ProRes RAW, but as of now, it's not super compatible with a lot of NLEs. I know it's compatible with Final Cut X. Obviously, it's an Apple codec. It's an Apple NLE, but it's not really, doesn't really work with Premiere, and it doesn't work with DaVinci. And so, you know, for a codec which is meant to like add as much flexibility with color, you can't really use it in DaVinci, which is the coloring software, then it's kind of just a weird time to use ProRes RAW. What's nice about Sony in general is that they do have a pretty good lens selection. It uses the E-mount, which there's a ton of E-mount glass out there already. The other big full frame mounts, which is L-mount and RF mounts, they are a lot more limited. So, something to keep in mind. All right, enough with the specs. How much does it cost? What's the price? What's the bottom line? Another good question. The Sony a7S Mark III retails for $3,499. Biatch. Not including taxes. That's for the body only. It doesn't come with a lens. There are bundles on B&H you could buy with lenses, but they're pretty expensive and you're not really saving money on it, so, you know. So you might be wondering, all right, what now? Should I buy this camera? Would you recommend it? To be honest, it's a pretty easy camera to recommend. It's a really, really solid camera. Sony delivered on a lot of things people were wanting out of this camera. The big sort of competitor to the Sony a7S Mark III is the Canon R5 and arguably also the Panasonic S1H. Now, the S1H is terrific. It matches a lot of the specs of the Sony a7S, but its autofocus is a little subpar. Autofocus is sort of the big Achilles heel of Panasonic, so if that is important to you, Canon or Sony would probably be a little better. The Canon R5 also has a 45 megapixel sensor, which is huge. And Sony has a 12 megapixel sensor. So it can be argued that Sony doesn't have a lot of megapixels because their pixels are bigger and they let more light in and stuff like that and low light and yada yada. All right, I buy it, whatever. The Sony a7S series is known for low light. That is true, they're the kings of low light. This camera is no exception. Would I recommend the Sony over the Canon R5? Well, great question. It's a really, really good question. Very intuitive question. You're really smart. You're really smart. I think it depends. The Canon R5 isn't a reliable camera. It does tend to overheat. But it does tend to overheat in high resolution, high frame rate modes. So if you're big into stills and you want more of a hybrid, something that is a really, really capable stills camera, but can also shoot pretty good video, the Canon R5 might eke the Sony out, especially if you limit your video shooting to 4K, which is what most people will probably shoot on anyway. You can't really shoot past 4K on a Sony anyway, so apples to apples. But if you want something robust, if you want something reliable, Sony, it's hard not to recommend the Sony a7S Mark III. It's hard not to recommend it. I feel like they did a pretty good job. It has been a long time coming, but you know, it's all the features that people wanted, we got, and it's a good camera, and what can I say? Like, oh, all right, Sony, all right, you win the mirrorless competition game bullshit, all right? Fucking Jesus. I gotta say, it's a good time to be a filmmaker. The fact that cameras this good or this accessible is pretty amazing and totally unprecedented. If you're ever thinking about like, hey, like I wanna make content, you know, I need a camera, it's a good time to buy a camera. There's so many great cameras right now. So do it, just buy a camera. I don't care if you can't afford it. Use your credit card. Steal your parents' money, sell drugs, it doesn't matter. Buy a camera, shoot content, and fuck those people who are like, you don't need a camera to make content. You don't, but you know, you do, alright? Alright, so those are my thoughts. These are my opinions. These are the gifts I've given to the community. If you like this video, let me know in the comments and subscribe to your boy, cause fuck it, what are you doing anyway? And if you made it this far, I'm gonna plug in this little pilot that I'm doing soon called Psychic School. It's a pilot I'm directing this fall, hopefully, fingers crossed. We're crowdfunding right now. It's a Seed and Spark campaign. Link is in the description. If you're feeling generous, check it out, support your boy, and have a great, amazing day. I mean, really just have the best day. I love you and I believe in you.